Good morning, everybody. I'm Micheline from Americana Long Arm Quilting. We do custom quilting and long arming, and you can find a link to our website in the description below. Go check that out. All right, we're doing something fun today. We are starting a new series in an attempt to bring you some more content. We have come up with a series of videos, or we're going to be coming up with a series of videos that are just blocks. Okay. How did this come about? Well, it's a little bit difficult to keep putting out 2 full quilts a month with patterns and run another business, my drapery workroom. So we've got to find a way to juggle a little bit better, and this is one of the ways we've decided to do it. And Savannah's been on to me for months to do this, and I just haven't been able to wrap my brain around it, but I finally figured it out. Here is the secret. There are no rules. Once I got that in my head, that there doesn't have to be any rules to this, I went, okay, let's do it. This series is called Create a Block. That's it, a block. Whatever you want to do with that block, if you want to sew it along with us, great. We'd love to see what you make out of your blocks. If you don't, if you just want to sit and watch, do that. I always get so stressed out when people say this is a sew along. I feel like I have to have everything ready and I have to be sewing with them. This isn't like that. We would love it if you'd sew along and do what we do. And but if you don't want to, that's okay too, because you know what? There are no rules. If you want to put this into a quilt, great. If you don't want to put them into a quilt, that's fine too. If you want to use coordinating fabric through the whole thing, great. If you don't want to, that's okay too. And once I wrapped my brain around that they didn't have to have an end purpose, I went, this is going to be fun. So we're just going to pick blocks to do. Sometimes I'll find them on Pinterest. Maybe I'll see it on YouTube and think, oh, maybe my viewers would like to see me make that block, and show them how I would do it. Today, what we're going to be using is this card deck that my daughter got me a couple years ago for Christmas. And I know that I've shown this to you a couple of times. We will leave a link to this card deck in the description below as well. Here's what we're going to do. I am just going to open it up. I'm not even going to look. I'm just going to, they're kind of tight in here. I'm just going to pick one out. Okay, let's see what this one says. This is the Churn Dash. That's a fun old quilt block. And I always found that name funny, Churn Dash. I'm going to do a little bit of searching on the interweb and see if I can find some history on the Churn Dash to share with you. And then we'll get ready to pick out some fabric to make. And I'll tell you about the history of it as we go along. Ranger's going to help me today. All right, see you in a bit. All right, so I've done a little bit of research. Not only is this block called Churn Dash, but it's also called Monkey Wrench. I understand too that it's got some different names. And we'll get a little bit more into the history as we go along. But this is essentially a 9 patch. Now this one happens to be an uneven 9 patch. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's a 9 patch, but they're uneven. This middle row is longer and wider than the others. Okay, so that is also made. Let me get Barbara Brackman's encyclopedia out here and show you. Let me see right up there, that teal one. That is an even 9 patch. Well, I want to do both of them. So I've picked some colors. Okay, I am going to do a monkey wrench as the even 9 patch, and that feels more masculine to me. So I'm going to do this as the wrench, and this is the background. Isn't that a pretty? 2 batiks. So that's going to be our monkey wrench one. And then our uneven Churn Dash, we're going to do it out of this one. This is going to be my focal pattern. This fabric, this is going to be the center. And then we've got these 2 fun fabrics to go along with it. This will be our background. This will be our Churn Dash. Okay, let's get started cutting. So the first thing I did for our uneven churn dash block is I cut a 4.5-inch square. Where did I get that figure? It's right here on this card. So if you get this card deck, it has all these cuts for you. So that I cut at 4.5 inches. This is going to finish as an 8-inch block. So center is 4.5. The next thing we are going to want to do is cut these side pieces here. Let me get that up close. Is cut the side pieces. These blocks right here. Okay. And this card deck tells me I need them to be 1.5 by 4.5. So I've straightened up my edge here of my two colors. I'm going to move over 4.5 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4.5. It's that right there. Now I've got a strip to work with. I'm going to rotate it like this, and I should be able to get the 4 pieces out of the width of the purple. So that's, I'm just not even going to move the green. I'll use the green as scraps because, you know, I love doing scrappy quilts. Okay, so now these need to be, what did I say, 1.5 inches? Yes. So I'm going to line this up using my mat. There we go. There's 1.5 inches with a bunch of fuzzles on it. Okay. Here's going to be another 1.5. All right, like so, and one more, and I'm cutting them together, so we've already got our pairs together. I probably should have put them right sides together, right? Yeah, I should have put them like that, huh? When I was cutting, and then I wouldn't have to do it now. Okay, so those are our side rectangles. Now we need our squares for our half square triangle. Now, I'm going to tell you something about this card deck. I feel like when they're doing their half square triangles, those right there, they give you the exact figure. So we want these to finish, get 2 inches, and they have your cutting your squares at 2 7/8. I'm going to cut mine at 3 inches because I just feel like that's just a little bit more forgiving, okay? So I'm going to need 2 squares of each. And let's go ahead and flip this guy over. Be smart about it, huh? We'll move him down a little bit. We'll neaten up that cut. How about that? Okay, so we're going to neaten up our cut here. And I think we should be able to get 2 3-inch cuts. Yeah, just barely. Okay, out of the purple. All right. Because I like to square my half square triangles down. I feel like that's just a smarter way to do it. You don't have to worry that you're not going to have that it's going to be too small or too big if your seam allowances are a little bit off. So I would just rather cut mine down. So I give a little bit more than I need when I cut the half square triangle. So it said 2 7/8. I did 3. Okay, so now I'm going to cut this at 3 inches. And we need 2 because we're making half square triangles. And when we make half square triangles, 2 squares of each color make 2 half square triangles. So we'll draw a line here. We'll sew a 1/4 inch, draw a line here where we can see it. Let's just go ahead and do that. Okay. And then we're going to sew on either side of it, cut it on the line. Not quite on that absolute dot. See, and this is the kind of thing that I mean. If I wasn't quite in the right position, my line's going to be a little bit off-centered, and one of those would have been a little bit smaller than the other. So that's why I always like to cut down. If you don't want to cut down, then 7/8 is the figure that you need to know to be able to do it. Okay, so I've got everything I need for that one. You didn't need to see me do that again. So I've got everything that I need for the monkey wrench right here. Now let's go to the machine and get started on these. All right, here we are at the machine. Let's get some sewing done. Put that to the side. Let's start with our half square triangles. We're going to sew 1/4 inch on each side of that line that we drew. Oh, let me turn my little light on here. There we go. Let's get this one done at the same time. Do a little bit of chain piecing. Okay. May as well chain piece these while we're sitting here, huh? This is an Eleanor Burns thing, the chain piecing is, as long as we're doing a little bit of a history lesson. It was Eleanor Burns who came up with chain piece. Now, I don't know if she was the only one that ever did it before. Maybe she just coined the phrase. I don't know, but it's brilliant. And it really helps your sewing go along quickly. So, all we're doing, and this is the way I normally sew, okay? So oftentimes when I'm showing you how to create something, I do it one step at a time. This is actually the way I honestly sew. I get everything done at the same time. Okay, now let's go back to our half square triangles here. And we're going to sew down the other side, okay? Oh, there we go, like that. Okay. And this. Okay. Now we've got 2 steps already done. So we are way ahead of things here. Get those cut apart. Okay. Now, I'm going to take my scissors, since these are just 2 little half square triangles, and I'm going to cut on that line, okay? Because there's no sense to get up and walk over to the cutting table, which is actually right there, and get my rotary cutter and everything when I'm just doing these 2, okay? Now, let's take them over here and sew them. I'm going to put the light side down. I'm going to set that seam. Set everybody's seams. Okay. And now I'm going to gently fold back that darker color, like so. Give it a little finger press. And there we are. That one's done. Let's do this one. Roll him back just a bit. Okay. I'll do those other 2 in a minute. Let me show you this as well. We're going to also take this to the dark side. Oops, set that seam. And then we're going to take that to the darker side and just gently finger press that over. Okay. So I'm going to do that with all 4 pieces of these. And I'm going to get all of these to this point. And now we're going to take it over and trim it. So I'm going to bring my cutting mat over here so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to get my block lock and my rotary cutter. And where did my triangles go? Oh, there they are, way over there. Okay, now I want to cut these down to 2 inches. So I'm going to take my block lock and push that up there a little bit. Okay. Here we go. And I want it to finish at 2 inches, but I want to cut off a little bit of something all the way around it. So I've got that seam locked in the groove of the block lock. I've got a little bit extra here and here. This is my 2-inch mark, and that's my 2-inch mark, and I can see fabric on either side of that. So now I'm going to do that. Rotate my mat a little bit, and I just knocked my block lock off, but that's okay. I'm going to get it back on there. There. As I rotated, it hit my scissors. Okay, now all you have to do is slide your block lock. Well, shoot. I'm going to flip it around, and then I'm going to slide my block lock down until that 2 inches is, the fabric is on the 2 inches, and the diagonal is in that block lock. This is a really bad example to show you on because it just really blends into my background or my mat. I'll show you on the other one. But there you go. Now we have a 2-inch square. All right, let me get everything else to that stage, and I will be back to show you how to get it all constructed. All right, I've got it all laid out. Doesn't that look pretty? Now we're just going to sew it together like we would any other 9 patch. We're going to sew these 3 pieces together, these 3 pieces together, these 3 pieces together. Okay, let's start with these. Let's see here, back that up a little bit. Let's start with these 2. Okay, and they fit really nicely because I cut it down to the perfect size. I'm just going to run that through the machine. And I'm going to leave that attached, and I'm going to take these 2 and put those through the machine. Okay. And let's put these last 2 through. Now, I said I was going to give you a little bit of a history lesson on these, so let me go ahead and do that. 1800 to 1849 is when this block was created. Now, it's called a churn dash, which is an old-fashioned, let me start that over again. A butter churn has the churn, which is kind of this square with the sides cut off, the edges cut off, so it's kind of a circle, and that's the churn. The dash is the stick that goes up and down and mixes the butter. And so, you know, we don't identify anymore with the shape of a churn dash because that's not how we get our butter. But back in the 1800s, that's exactly how they got their butter. So it would have been very evident to see the churn dash form in this block. They would be like, oh, well, of course, that's a churn dash. I mean, we don't see it like that anymore today because we just don't use those things. But so the center square is the dash, and the rectangles and half square triangles, those would represent the sides of the butter churn itself. So that is how it got its name. Now we're going to press these probably away from the half square triangles. So we're going to press that in. This one will press out, and I'm just going to do a little bit of finger pressing here. This will press out like so, and that will press in again. Let me see my notes and see if there was anything else that I missed. This was often the one of the first blocks young girls were taught how to do, because although it can be very simple, you can see you can do so much with it. Okay, so now I'm going to nest those seams. Get my leader back in here. But yeah, there are so many blocks that we're like, why in the world did they call it a churn dash? Because that's not something we see every day, but they saw it every day, and this is what it reminded them of. So it's a fun thing to think about. It was also called, as I alluded to before, a monkey wrench. And a monkey wrench was a wrench that they used on wagon wheels. And I think that the even one, and I saw it in a picture where it was done with the light fabric as the monkey wrench. I thought, wow, that really does look like a monkey wrench. So that's why I chose to do that one as well. So the one I'm creating right now is the uneven one. And the one I'll do next is the even one. Okay, so got to do some pressing. But there's our cute little block. Isn't that fun? Okay, let's set up this one. I wanted to show you something a little bit different on this one. Okay, so here are our corners. And the dark goes out. Okay, like so. And then our 4 pieces go like this, and this is out. We're going to put those dark pieces out again. Okay. Now, if you'll think about it, okay, this right here is where the wrench bites. You see it? Now do you see the monkey wrench? I do. Okay, so we have a decision to make. Are we going to put that in the center and make it really look like the head of a wrench, I guess? Or do we want to add that color back in there again? That's pretty too. That's really pretty too. You know what? Since there are no rules, I think I'm going to do it like that and call it a monkey wrench. Okay, let's put this one together and see how they look in the end. Here's where we started off our day, and here is what we have to show for it. We've got the uneven 9-patch version of a churn dash or monkey wrench, and we've got the even 9-patch version of the monkey wrench or churn dash. This really looks like the monkey wrench to me because it's narrower right here. I'm really intrigued with how different these look with the different fabrics and where you place the fabrics. Like we did the lighter fabric here for the wrench itself, and here we did the darker color for the wrench itself. And also, look how different it looks if you put it on point. Isn't that amazing? Just that one little change makes the whole block look completely different. I really, really love that. I think that would make a beautiful entire quilt, is just to do a bunch of the churn dash and put it on point. All right, I hope you enjoyed this first in our new series, Create a Block. No rules. You can do anything you want. And I hope you will like, share, and subscribe. Do all the things that make that algorithm sing. We're really trying to get to 25,000 subscribers this year, and I know with your help we can do it. And until next time, stay quilting. Bye.